The FCA and PRA issued their joint discussion paper in the UK on operational resilience in 2018. Here we are in 2021, still no actual dates for adoption of the new regulations that were outlined in the consultation paper, which closed, I believe, in October last year. So operational resilience was mentioned in the FCA's 2019-2020 business plan as one of their top priorities. It's not mentioned in their 2020-2021 business plan. So Andrew, do you think this means that the regulators' focus has shifted slightly away from this, maybe due to the global pandemic's almost been a real life proof to the regulators that financial institutions can be resilient in the face of black swan events such as the pandemic?
Yeah, it's a cogent observation, I think. To give them their credit, when the CP was finished, they did say that they were going to extend it slightly out to October to alleviate the effects of the pandemic. So it is, I think it's reflective of that. But it really, I think it's front and center of the attempts to try and draw together a more systematic view of what operational resilience is. They really have been quite explicit, I think, on how institutions should be looking at harm and how that's amplified out through the system, whether you're an FMI or in fact a customer. Basic things like, can I pay my mortgage, and if I can't, what happens? Institutions are going to have to, have an explanation for that, and that's going to be evidenced in the impact tolerance, which comes as part of this process. Look at your people, process, technology. Back to the point I made about resources, I think. You've got to think about this as well in the minds of the regulator. Regulators are not places that are festooned with resources. Typically, there's a requirement for specialist resources. I think if you look at this piece of specific regulation and the rule set, it's very much going to be pushed down into the institutions. We know it's going to be SMF 24, which is the ops function, Alistair, and many others, and that covers quite a wide range of BCP, cyber, third-party risk. So that's kind of interesting. But then you've got to look at the parallels as well. This regulation attempts to parallel some of the existing pieces. Who's it relevant to? Pretty much anyone who's a supervised entity, and also anyone who has already onboarded other pieces of regulation in recent times. So it's a bit of a high watermark in some senses, I think. There was perhaps a lack of understanding about the crossover between operational risk and operational resilience, because there's actually quite a lot of commonality. But the papers, I think, of which there have been 10 in the last 3 years, are quite explicit, and actually I think they're quite lucid in the way that the FCA and the PRA have gone about a more joined up approach to looking at it. I think now that that's washed through, I did check before I came on the call to make sure they hadn't ambushed us with a release this afternoon. I think that this is imminent, and there really are, I think, perhaps no excuses either for institutions to be surprised by this. So it's about understanding what your processes are, mapping those, looking at what those impact tolerances are going to be, making sure the board's aware of those, and not only that, the board sanctions them. Then there's scenario testing and the other things that go with it. So in short, no. And I think the last point I'll make is Moore's law. The speed of processing and the speed of computing, and how it increases every 2 years. Well, the speed of progression at this moment in time is perhaps equal to the speed of failure. So, and I think that's not a new concept, but certainly in the digital age, it's something that operational resilience will look to try and protect against, systemic failure. So we will need to react to risk events or failures more quickly, I think.